Procrastination, we often hear, is a thief of time. With hindsight and real-life experiences, perhaps we can begin to say that procrastination, continuous procrastination, is a thief of life. And not just wasting your time, you're wasting the time of many others who, by association and the kind of work that they do, have to be in alignment with you. Well, it's time to set our tone for the conversation. We're talking leadership, and then there must be followership. Francis will take us there.
Followership is the other side of leadership, and in fact, an indispensable aspect of leadership. The concept of followership extends to include the ability to behave appropriately and to do the right thing. What, therefore, is the role of the electorate, for instance, in being responsive to leadership? How should electorate conduct themselves before, during, and after elections?
It takes two to tangle, but the leader comes first. If you bring a law and that nobody should bypass traffic light, and the minister on the siren stop at the traffic light, the leader has shown example. The followers will follow suit. But in a situation where a leader has not been the approach, which I call top to bottom, it now becomes difficult for the followers to follow, because leader must always show the lead and show by example.
In governorship election, more attention is focused on local concerns. You know, they look, if you are an incumbent, they look at your track record, they look at your performance in office. What have you been able to accomplish in the past 4 years? You know, if you're a new entrant in politics, they'll also look at your track record, whether you were in the private sector previously or whether you were in government. But more importantly, it's important for the electors to really open their eyes, watch the candidates based on their individual prowess, you know, and not necessarily the party.
One of the powers electorates have at their disposal is the power of recall. A recall is the power of voters to unseat a serving lawmaker before the person's tenure is up. It shows that the sovereign power lies with the people, and they have the right to recall their representatives if they fail to perform their functions in a proper way.
The Constitution makes provision for the calling, but it also depends on the people. But so far today, there's no any state in Nigeria, or from the level of House of Rep, Senate, even governor, impeachment and all that, they've not been able. It is only in Kogi State at one time, it's Nitodinoma where his people tried to recall him back. But at the end of the day, they couldn't succeed because they couldn't get the right number.
In other countries, even in I think in Britain, their last prime minister, lady prime minister, was almost trying to go through a recall before she resigned eventually. So, but in Nigerian system, maybe because of the nature of our political system, you know, the issue of recall is not very prominent.
There seems to be too much attention at the center, at the expense of state and local governments in Nigeria. For instance, Nigerians focus so much on the presidential election, forgetting that their states and local government performances can have a more direct impact on them. How many Nigerians know their councillors, local government chairpersons, and state assembly members?
The Constitution has given the federal so much power to have resource control, whereby the state does not have the control of their resources. Then the power is now being structured at the center. We are also looking at a regime that will come and devolve power from federal to state.
You cannot develop a country, without the rural areas. And that is why you see most Nigerians coming to the urban areas, going to Abuja, going to Lagos, going to Port Harcourt, going to Kano, Kaduna, running away from the rural areas where the majority of the population live.
With the just concluded National Assembly election few weeks ago, it was discovered that some long-term senators and House of Representative members lost their seats. While some 7 governors did not get elected to the National Assembly, other ex-governors at the National Assembly lost their seats as well. What does this portend for Nigeria's democracy?
If you look at it deeply, it has different dimensions why some of them couldn't make it. One, there are new, for example, a new political party who emerge. If you look at Labour Party, if you look at NNPP, now people have looked at it in some other area that their representative, the senator, did not perform to expectations. On that purpose, then they did not vote you. Then why they couldn't get a return?
When you see an election where unknown parties, unknown individuals were able to compete, with entrenched political parties, entrenched politicians, and still win, I believe that's a testament of the credibility of the election. For example, the governor of Enugu State lost an election to a new person in politics. The governor of Abia State lost an election, a senatorial election too. The governor of Benue State lost an election. So many places. And apart from governors, you also see 3-term, 2-term senators that lost their seats to pretty new candidates.
Therefore, our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on leadership in contemporary Nigeria.
Leadership begets followership, and when the leadership is responsive, you can be very sure you will have a responsive and responsible electorate. Well, they have come out en masse, they have used their PVCs, and in many cases, they've elected candidates who they think can push the agenda for the people forward. Let's meet our guest. He's Mazi Afam Osigwe, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Hello, sir.
Glad to be here. Thank you so very much.
Okay, we just want to get to meet you, but our conversation is not going to start right now. We're going to the National Assembly. Some will say some things have happened, unexpected happenings. We have called it here upsets of 2023. Dayo is taking us through this.
Upset 2023. The unexpected has happened at the National Assembly. In 2019, 20 former governors from different parts of the country joined the throng who trooped to the 9th Assembly. They include Rochas Okorocha of Imo State, Ibikunle Amosun, Ogun State, Abdulaziz Yari, Zamfara, Kabiru Gaya, Kano, Abdullahi Adamu, Nasarawa State, Chimaroke Nnamani, Enugu, Oji Kalu, Abia, Gabriel Suswan, Benue, and Ibrahim Shekarau, Kano State, amongst others.
If you look at 2015 election, most of them came in after they retired from being governors. The same thing happened in 2019. A few of them returned back. If you check the National Assembly, particularly the Senate, they don't go to the House of Reps. They go to the Senate. Because the Senate is like the highest of decision making. And usually, if you see most of these former governors, they don't speak. They don't engage. They don't even want position. They just want to go somewhere and just relax and be sleeping. Most of them sleep all day.
The just concluded general elections held on February 25 shows that it is not business as usual. Many outgoing governors, former governors, and prominent politicians contested in parliamentary elections, but only 2 made the cut, as the others were roundly defeated by greenhorns.
Never in the history of governors who made the bid to go to the Senate suffered such remarkable upset like the just concluded 2023 National Parliament election. of the nearly 10 governors who sought to go to the Senate, I think only 2 or 3, well, 2 actually made it. The outgoing governor of Niger State, and I think the governor of Ebonyi State, in Taraba State. Governor Darius was caught in the dilemma that ultimately cost him his seat. He was caught in the dilemma of local politics and the new kid on the block, that is the Labour Party. He lost his ward election to the Labour Party. If you go to Benue State, Otom lost to the APC because of his own local problem there, and because he had grown largely unpopular. In Kebbi, Governor Bagudu Atiku actually lost to the much more established candidate who at a point they were all in the same political party, Adamu Alero. Adamu Alero was the first governor in the dawn of the Fourth Republic, and he has bestrode the politics of his senatorial district like a colossus. You go to Cross River State, Ayade also lost.
Stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it.
For the first time in Nigeria since 1999, the National Assembly will have a new look. The 10th Assembly will have 7 political parties represented by APC, PDP, the Labour Party, NMPP, SDP, YPP and APGA. And this new look will probably have a mix of diverse opinions. Meanwhile, Nigerians have opined that the scenario will deepen the country's democracy and promote good governance.
You're watching Weekend Deal Dio. I know she did in-depth research just to ensure that we bring this to the fore. We tagged it upset. The unexpected indeed happened. But according to Mazi Afam Osigwe, senior bit of Nigeria, he says it is to be expected and it is a part of a growing democracy.
Oh,
Mazi,
yes.
Tell us more.
Now, every election is a referendum on the politicians. The people come back, for those who are seeking re-election, to give their verdict on what they consider their performance, whether good or bad. And so when a politician who seeks to be re-elected gets kicked out, especially one who has stayed for a long time, it's a sign for the people that, look, we're no longer impressed by your representation, you're not good at the work you're doing, we think somebody else will do a better job. Thank you so very much for the services so far. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's a beauty of democracy. That's why people present themselves, campaign all over after 4 years in office for the people to return their verdict. So when they are kicked out, the verdict is simply saying, you have performed below average and we are no longer impressed. We're not interested in you. Continue to represent us. Let us try another hand, like I said. And that's it.
Is that the opinion you think many Nigerians have? Or they just wanted to see a new face? And
I don't think so. I don't think.
Some say they have performed very well.
In their mind, if they have, people say you don't change the winning team. If indeed the people feel these individuals have done so well, it's not likely they will be kicked out. The people are not really interested most times in the political parties, though in some cases, dominant political parties may keep influencing the choice of who goes back to the legislature or the executive. But when the people really have their way, they may vote for the least known political party, the least known person to represent them, because to them, he aggregates the aspiration of good representation. And sometimes people get tired of old faces. They want to try fresh persons. You've stayed too long, you've dominated the scene so long. Allow some other persons to also come up. And also let us also feel what a fresh face, a different person, a neophyte, if you may, can do for us. Yeah, you're so good, and as is usual with politics, as people stay longer, the tendency to think more about themselves, about perpetuating themselves in office, dominates their mind. And so the people suffer because it's all about some kind of elected monarchy being created in the constituency. So you stay too long. Even people should also know when to call it quits. If you've been in the political scene for too long, since 1999, come on. You've moved from House of Reps to maybe to being governor, you've gone to the Senate. You should know when to go so that some other persons can come up.
But it becomes like an elders forum, experience. We can't buy experience.
Now we
and
keep saying
what the elders see sitting down. Young people can't sit on top the toilet.
Nice proverb, which I do not quarrel with, but does not mean that young people have nothing to offer. Okay. All these persons were also once neophytes in the game, and they grew old. So get out and allow some other new person to come and learn. Even if you think lowly of him, oh, he's a bus driver, he's a market person, who says that a market person cannot have, or a trader, a bus driver cannot have better ideas than that lawyer, that engineer, that medical doctor, that professional politician who all he has done, what he has done all his life is to play politics. And by the way, how great have they done in ensuring the welfare and security of the people for all the years they've spent there?
Indeed, indeed. Now, there's some apprehension among some people that they are new, they are uninformed, they don't know the statutes, they don't know. You know, in some countries, there is some level of training or enlightenment that would take place before they are now, I know many of them have gotten their certificates, but some will say before the 10th assembly really starts, there will be some preparation with this, oftentimes they are termed newbies. In fact, there's a case of an Okada driver.
And what about
some
that?
Some says it's a bus driver.
And so what about that?
But tell us.
I even think that Okada driver may better represent the interest of the people. He feels their pains. He knows what they go through. He knows the areas the people expect government to make changes. He has not become corrupted by the wheeling and dealing on the corridors of power. He has not so become embedded in so many business and political interests. So he's not coming with any baggage. He may come with fresh ideas. Yes, he may not be able to find his way into some committees, but let him go there. Let the people see also try out these kinds of persons and see whether they can make the desired change. Let us not deprecate them by terming them newbies, people who I think they have some sense in their head, and the people are not stupid in entrusting them with the responsibility of representing them.
Indeed.
And we can't keep looking down on them as if to suggest that, oh, you see what you did to yourself, you see the mistake you have made. If it was this other person, yes, let him go. Let her go. Let them go and make that mistake or those mistakes we expect them to make. Let them also learn.
And indeed,
let us not suggest that
you.
They should not be re-elected because they are new.
But
and like I said, what have those
people?
Old ones done for us?
Some say lost.
Some have lost. Which law?
A lost. They've done a lot, I
can't feel it.
But can I ask you, Mazi, in your conversation with your fellow SANs, lawyers, neighbors, friends, would you say this is the general opinion?
Oh, yes. People feel that, look, you need to. People were excited that some of these persons lost the election. They were excited.
Really?
You know, it's just like David slaying the Goliath. So people are happy. It also gives them hope. That because people are losing hope in the political system, that you need to have a lot of money, you need to be some big gun, have some big name, be highly connected to get nominated, talk less of being elected. And so seeing these fresh faces beat otherwise big persons gives them hope that they too can do it. And it is good for our society and for democracy.
So it does tell us that when the electorate is really ready,
they can make all the changes and they can sweep out the people they don't want.
Indeed, indeed. And you know that we're talking about bills and laws because some people believe that the bills are passed, the laws are signed, judiciary interprets, of which you are a part, but that oftentimes there's a bias on the way towards a slant on those who it impacts positively or negative. And that's why Ijoma set about this, to go out and do some research so she can share with us. So perhaps we can be better informed and have Mazi's input. Let us hear it from the proverbial horse's mouth. Ijoma, please share with us what you found.
Rule of law is a legal maxim that suggests that no one is above the law. Laws are legal principles which are binding on everyone, including those who made the laws, who interpret the laws, and who promulgate the laws. Nigeria is a developing democracy of about 24 years uninterrupted. However, there are indices which shows that upholding the principles of rule of law are lopsided, and that signals danger for Nigeria's democracy.
The rule of law is supreme. You see, when we talk about the supremacy of the rule of law, we're talking about supremacy of the Constitution. The Constitution is the ground norm, which is where every law is drawn from. So once that law is not supreme, then everything goes wrong. The fact that after so many years of democracy, some people feel as if things are shaking. Well, it's shaking because of this same rule of law being sporadic. Aristotle talks about law governs, And I agree 100% that the day you see law not governing or the law not being the indices by which governance is applied, then you now see what we are going through, these sporadic conflicts and issues around banditry.
Democracy and the rule of law work pari passu. They are the pillars of every sustainable development and good governance. They guarantee fundamental freedoms in any society where everyone is protected by the law, empowered by the law, and punished by the law, irrespective of disposition. But when these principles become dysfunctional, the aftermath is often devastating.
I've been in areas where conflict, crisis, if you see where conflict and crisis has taken over, then you know that the only advice you can give politicians is that they should try as much as possible and stick to what they have told people, which is that they will govern them with equity, with fairness, and with humanity. You see, that humanity is something that is also, I feel, that is missing in this country.
The future of democracy rests with the ability of democratic leaderships and citizens to observe the rule of law. And so, no Nigerian is above the law.
So we must continue to adhere to the rule of law, the ground norm. It's not a choice. It is compulsory.
Those who break the laws are punished according to the law. So, to ensure coexistence and economic sustainability of Nigeria's economy, laws must be binding on all.
Must be binding on all. So says the Nigerian Constitution. Mazi Afam Osigwe San. I know that the knowledge that is requisite here, plenty about laws, constitution, bills, and the whole gamut of things around that. Tell us, why do Nigerians feel there's a slant, there's a bias, that the masses, the common man, are oftentimes unable to seek redress or to get their issues addressed? Oftentimes, we're talking about the court of law.
It's difficult to answer your question because the question suggests that the judiciary is a problem. Now, yes. Now, but I must admit that there's a perception by many, the court users, the general public, that the courts have failed, that the courts are not administering even-handed justice, that justice is becoming increasingly expensive, that the poor cannot get justice in our courts. They can't afford lawyers, the courts are slow, and then it takes so many years, and sometimes people even die before they ever get justice. Some go as far as saying that our courts give judgment devoid of justice. There's some work to be done. Because whether you are doing the best of work, if the feeling of the people is a thinking, a mindset that you're not doing well, that matters more than the facts.
Indeed.
Because the work the judiciary does should be able to give people confidence to say that if I go to court, I'll be sure this matter will be settled. And there's an increasingly tendency of our courts to do justice, to decide cases based on technicality without going into the merits of the cases. And sometimes this produces results that leave people scratching their head, dissatisfied with their judges. And so you hear people using very strong language to denounce our courts, the judges and the justices who decide these cases, and also feel that justice is to be bought. But the point is, if I will use the word of John Pepe Clark in his poem, The Casualty, we're all casualties, and we all have one role or the other to play in it. Starting with the legislature in Nigeria, which in my opinion, most times is self-serving, keeps passing laws to better their lot, for their own benefit. And so we keep, I take for example, and I had cause to say this here yesterday, the legislature has continually amended the Constitution an electoral act to ensure that their case get priority in our courts, that they are given a fast-track attention in our courts. So they amended the constitution to say, look, their cases must be tried within 160 days in the High Court or Federal High Court. The appeal must not take more than 60 days in either the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court. Now this is to the detriment of commercial, economic, human rights, and criminal trials. And so in every election cycle, all these cases get suspended, judges are uprooted from their courts and taken to far places to hear election matters, and then the appeals, and then if an election is upturned and a run ordered, a fresh round of litigation starts, and they keep budgeting so much money because we are talking about succession, about the ability to retain their seats or to enjoy the perks of office, without talking about the things that will improve the confidence of the people to want to invest in our country, to trust in our courts. So imagine you have a fundamental rights case and your brother, your sister, your husband, or your wife, or your partner, whoever is incarcerated, and it is before a judge who is hearing pre-election matters and who, by practice direction by the chief judge of his court, is directed to focus only on the pre-election matter because they are time-bound, and then your rights are, the rights of the persons are being violated, and the person is even in detention, but the court cannot take that application. When a person is detained in a criminal trial and there's a pending bail application which cannot be heard.
Tell us about the way forward. With the new piece bringing a fresh dimension.
Our problem has never been absence of good laws, but absence of the will to implement some of these laws. Sometimes we copy laws that have worked in other places in the Western world, even in Africa. But when they come to Nigeria, it's as if they are going into a legislative graveyard. So you make the laws, they are in our statute books, but they don't work. And then you give the judges, the courts, the powers to interpret these laws, to adjudicate disputes between persons, and one way or the other, you fetter the ability to do them. And I've talked about the election cases. And like I keep saying, nobody would want to go and invest in an environment where judicial priority, legislative priority is given to political cases. All we seem to care is about power, getting power, enjoying it. But we never ask at what cost to the society. Laws are passed to create jobs for the boys without any care about their financial toll on the economy, on the budget, on national life, on how people actually see things.
So I ask you this one question.
Yes, please do.
Now with this fresh breath, this fresh insight, these new bees as they are called, coming in, do you think they'll bring the difference?
I may not be able to say what they're going to do. I've not interacted with any of them. I don't know what their manifesto is. I don't know what they are promised to do. But the system has a way of corrupting fresh persons who come with a lot of hope. They are swallowed up. This number of persons we call newbies are quite in the minority and may not be able to have their way except they're able to cut deals with those who are in the majority or they belong to the majority political parties that dominate the legislature.
Okay, so it's great to have this contribution. Then we know how we are faring. Or what do you say, Mazi? How are we doing?
Well, I think you're doing well. There's also need to feel the pulse of the people, which is why I said I do not represent the views of the people, but I'm one of the people. And we believe in this country. It's a great nation. We've been let down by some of our leaders, and we know we can do better than we are doing presently. And that is why I said many are excited that some of these giants fell. They've probably stayed too long. They didn't know when to leave.
Giants.
Oh, yes.
And they said they were felled by greenhorns.
Which makes it all the more interesting.
Okay. Ore, our colleague, has been going out. She did some research about the expectations of the newbies. Some don't even call them politicians. Some are not calling them rep-elect or senator-elect. They're calling them newbies. Ore, please share.
The just concluded 2023 Presidential, Senate, and House of Representative election, which was held on the 25th of February, bred leaders of unprecedented dynamics, which created a political evolution, which recognized new faces of federal lawmakers. What brought about these changes?
We now see a situation whereby someone who is a bus driver and someone who is an Okada rider is coming to National Assembly. They are now coming to an area where a son of nobody can actually become somebody in Nigeria. Experience starts from somewhere. You can't have experience if you don't perform or if you don't engage in an act. Whether I like it or not, throughout the 4 years that they will spend at that, whether at the upper chamber or the lower chamber, there are a lot of lessons that they will learn. And whether you like it or not, they have to start doing engagement. They need to go and identify personality, individuals that can actually mash down their ego, who will tell them the truth and who will tell them this is how things are being done. If somebody who is not competent gets there, it's going to affect every one of us, because you can't isolate government in whatever we are doing in our life. Now, what is going to happen is that there's going to be more accountability in the next government. People will be very conscious, because they know that once they don't perform, there can be a switch.
In 2013, I was elected in Beijing as the chairman of African Young Leadership Forum. As I'm talking to you, is my mate that is governor of Nairobi. My mate are in Mauritius as member of the parliament, and they were surprised. Being an Okada rider does not say he doesn't have what it takes. Some have their native intelligence, some are graduates. They are accountable to the people, because that their voters' card is now their weapon. Ideological political party is now coming up. People are now looking, yes, you can give me 50 million, you can give me 10 million, you can give me 10 naira. But are you truly going to represent me?
What are the citizens to expect from these new entrants?
The new wave has really impacted people across the country. It will be difficult for a leader at this point to, learn. That means you are learning on the job. They can't employ you as a position of a manager, and then you have to come with your experience, your managerial experience, your managing experience. What did you do? Where did you manage? Who did you manage in the past? Then that would determine whether you get the job or not. You don't learn on the job. So I don't think the people are going to expect any good. It will be difficult for their needs to be satisfied.
I shouldn't be contesting if I don't have any plan to offer to my people. But we have a lot of things to tackle. One is education. We should face the education. Under the commission, we have Indigenous People Education Trust Fund. They will help to fund those of them that can go to tertiary institutions. We want to see doctors, lawyers, engineers, architects, pilots come out of indigenous people. That is what will change their poverty, that will turn poverty into prosperity. So these are the issues and the areas I will be discussing with this who to be minister on how we can impact to the life of our people. Even the indigenes will understand that it doesn't take you to be an indigene to work for them. I will prove that. I will prove that even being a non-indigene, what I will be able to attract for them will measure more than, because it's all about creativity. It's all about setting a goal and pursuing it and knowing how to get it. I think I have capacity to do that. States open up the rural areas. Here in this Abuja, where we have more fund than what the state has, we have not done anything to our rural communities. So we have to wake up to that. So these are things that I hope to do. If God's, after the inauguration by the special grace of God, and we'll get to work. So I can tell you that from day one, we will hit the ground running.
The citizens are hopeful and looking forward to more positive effect.
The citizens are owning this, because in spite of and in addition to, they have remained optimistic, and it's incredible and amazing and commendable that they continue to come out and cast their vote for people that they think will continue to bring fresh insight and great dimensions to different areas and aspects of our growth and development. Mazi, one of the House of Reps elect, was saying that he has what it takes to bring a fresh eye to different challenges that people are facing. But some, on the other hand, are saying it's unlikely. They don't have what it takes in terms of political movement, advancement, knowledge, and they don't understand the terrain.
A few years ago, somebody said to me, in particular reference to a very wealthy man who didn't have much education, he said, no fool makes money. He said, you may think lowly of this person because he is not as educated as you are, but he may be much wiser than you are. And I consider it irritatingly elitist for any person to suggest that lawyers, doctors, engineers are the ones needed in the legislature. Very annoying. Nobody should have such views. No society can advance without proper representation from all strata of the society. None. And we keep talking about these people being newbies, and I think it's quite derogatory to keep focusing on their freshness rather than on their intellect, rather than on their understanding, rather than their knowledge of what a legislature should do or what agenda they are coming. Why don't we ask them to see whether they have any understanding of what a legislator should do? We are focusing on the fact that they seem to be nobody. These big names we seem to celebrate when we talk derogatorily about these new or fresh persons coming, new entrants to the legislature. How many of them attend proper sittings? What sound debate can we attribute to them? Some of them are big men. It's become a retirement home where they go and we maintain them at public expense. What is their view on any public issue? What views on laws do we know? Do we have concerning them? And some of them spend a good part of their time abroad or in their retirement homes. And they deny their people of a voice. We need people who are hungry to represent their people, no matter how stupid we think they are. Let us go and exhibit that thing we consider stupidity. But we should not write them off for whatever reason.
Mazi, we're not writing them off.
No, when people keep focusing on their being newbies, they are not educated. What do they know?
Just a minute.
We cast aspersion on those who have given them their mandate.
Just a minute. You know, they call it feeling the pulse.
Oh, yes.
So we went right. You know, we even spoke to somebody who has just been elected into the House of Reps. And he said he's prepared. Many are concerned about, we have a case of
has it occurred? Might I interrupt you? Has it occurred to you that both the older person and this new entrant campaigned to the people, and the people believe this new entrant and voted for him or her? Why don't we cut them some slack and respect them and allow them to perform and not to preempt them and pass judgment on their ability even before they have acted?
We're feeling the pulse of the people.
Well, we're feeling the pulse, and because we are not able to feel most of the pulse, we may not be able to get a broad-based view.
Okay, now, sometimes people say we focus more on the national. We focus more on the presidency. The national, we come to ministers, we come to senators and House of Reps. And we did not pay a close look at our constituencies, at grassroots politics, where we have a chairman, councillors, and the like. So we now went out to ask, okay, yesterday we spoke with people in Lagos, we did in Enugu, today we're going to Ibadan. We want to see, do you know how vital grassroots politics is? And to tell us if it's vital to you or not, we will ask them, do you know those who are leading your constituency at different levels? From Ibadan, we'll see this. Leonard, so please, let's listen together.
Attaining the position of leadership requires the capacity to translate vision into reality. Every society is guided by leaders who steer the affairs of a nation. In Nigeria, there are three arms of government, which are the federal, state, and local government. The people tend to know more about their president at the federal level, governors at the state level. However, it is observed that most people know little or nothing at the local government, which is the grassroots government that is close to the people.
I'm from Onara local government. The name of my chairman is Alhaji Musbaudin Saba. Then that of councillor, because I belong to Ward 7, so Guniran Femi.
I can only talk of that chairman, don't know of the councillor. Because if you are to talk of councillor, they represent wards.
The local government chairman of Onara is Honorable Saba.
But I noticed local government. But I don't really know the name of the councillor that is coming out of the local government.
From Oluyole local government, I don't know my chairman, Oluyole chairman local government and the councillor. I don't.
From the same local government. Yeah, and presently we have Honorable Abilawan Mufutau as the chairman of the same local government. And when you're talking about the councillor in my ward, presently I've forgotten his name.
From Kajola local governments. The name of my local government chairman is Honorable Saliman Bori Kansuan. So likewise, the councillors. We have Honorable Kabiru Gbanibani.
The Northeast local government, to be precise, Ward 10, Irifin. His name is Ibrahim Aketayo. I know him very well because he interacts most often with people at the local government.
Some argued that most of the elected representatives are inaccessible after being elected into office, and this is likely responsible for the ugly trend.
I am the local government chairman, and the grassroots people do not have access to me, or they don't know me, then I'm not fit for office. I should not be in this chair or on this chair.
Somebody like me now, I was born from this locality. Then I'm also fortunate to be their council chairman. So I'm really familiar with my people.
It is, however, suggested that people should get acquainted with their representative at the grassroots and make them more accountable in order for the dividends of democracy to be more visible at the local government level.
Okay, what is vital that the dividends of democracy get to the people. That is the long and short of the story. Whether you start from the grassroots, you go to the middle, at the national, at the federal, in the state, people want to feel the pulse of their leaders. They want them to keep their promises. Mazi, people are saying that once they elect people into lower house, upper house, in their constituencies, as councillors, ward chairman, they now become inaccessible. But the idea of grassroots politics is to make leaders at that level available for their people, wouldn't you say?
Thelma, let me say that on the surface, the claim would appear to be correct. But sometimes that's not a justification, what I'm going to say now, for people who have been elected to become inaccessible. But you see, the continuing monetization of our polity, the belief of the electorate that their only dividend is what they get in terms of physical cash from their representative, that is the only thing they've benefited, is making some of these politicians to run away. Because when, for example, you go back to your constituency and people troop to your house and they expect you to share money, to cook food, to give drinks, without any care as to how much these individuals are paid, it's part of it. The demands are too much. The pressure on them is too much. And let me talk, even though you didn't ask about it, some of them are also not able to perform at the state level because the governors have made nonsense of democracy. There's no credible debate. There's no real debate in the houses of assembly of any state in Nigeria. The governors get what they want. Sometimes they can't have access to the house if the governor does not want them. If they oppose the governor, the house is locked up. The governor changes the leadership of the house at will. The local government is the worst hit of all tiers of government. Through the joint account with local state, the governors emasculate the local government, take money belonging to the local government, and they can't perform. And this robs people of democracy. When the legislators at the state level cannot say anything, they operate at the whims and caprices of the governors. And most times the governors influence the choice of those who get nominations of major political party or indeed their political party to stand for election. And sometimes they prefer their political cronies, those who can't do anything, who are yes men. So when you're running for election at the state level, the question is, will he be loyal? Loyal meaning, if you're independent, if you have a mind of your own, you're not likely to get tickets. And they may not even want you to be a presiding officer because being independent-minded means that you'll be a problem for the governor. The governor would rather that he brings a bill and it gets past first, second, third reading under 30 minutes. What kind of democracy is that? So about accessibility, sometimes it is not because these gentlemen or women have now seen power and they feel that they have a disdain for the people.
For the
but sometimes because of the demands of the people. I was once with a politician and he said to me, see, I don't know these people. They keep sending me account numbers to send money. So the demand, the monetary demand also makes them run away from the people. And we must remove that mindset where the people feel that these people, they voted for them so that they will meet their financial needs. It's one of the biggest problems we have. And when they talk about accessibility, some also talk about accessibility in terms of I'm not able to get him to give a job to me, a contract, give me money. Let's call it spade a spade.
So now you have told us what ought not to be. Quickly, before we go on a break, tell us what ought to be. When people say he's not accessible, tell the electorate now who want change, who are speaking in terms of dividends, tell them
Now,
what dividends.
if I understand accessibility to power should mean, if there are complaints about your area, about what he could do, there should be channels of reaching them to communicate to them, tell them your needs, the areas that people want the intervention. And people should also assess them through ideas, suggestions, complaints, but not demands for money.
All the time.
Not demand for contracts. Not demands for employment all the time, even when they may not be in a position to offer the employment. And so they judge you by, oh, how many people did they give job? How many roads did they construct, even when you're a legislator? And even when maybe the state government, there's no money budget for road construction in that area. And so we judge them harshly, rather than what they're able to do in some other spheres for their constituency. And like I said, even the governors do not allow them to do much.
But change is here, isn't it?
Oh, well, it's a constant.
We will take a break. We'll be back. Don't go away. Keep your messages coming in. Ma, it's been exciting having your input on our program.
Thank you so
and we touched down in Lagos. You know, we have spoken about the electorate extensively. And in Lagos, one of our friends also went out and felt the pulse of the people. So let's see that. Let's go to Lagos, the role of the electorate. When we come back, Mazi will have your final comments.
The ability of one to provide honest, sincere, trustworthy qualities with integrity, unity, decency, as well as the willingness to listen to followers so as to influence and guide an organization or country can be seen as leadership. In some cases, some politicians do not adhere to these good leadership qualities. Hence, the electorate become frustrated and disappointed that sometimes heat up the polity. Elections make fundamental contribution to democratic governance, while fake news, hate speech, character assassination, unconfirmed comments from social media can adopt harmful behavior.
The current electoral law in the Federation is the Electoral Act 2022. In Section 92, it also provides for such. Even during campaigns, people should not use slanderous words, abusive words that will hit the polity. So that provision prohibits utterances that is capable of hitting the polity.
For the youth, instead of causing trouble, instead of fighting here and there, at least they should go to court to tell the judges that, okay, sir, this is what we want, this is the kind of person we want. It's not this person, we don't want A, we want B, we don't want C, we want D, and this is who we want, and this is what we want to do. So that is how it's supposed to be. Instead of causing trouble, I advise nobody to cause trouble, because Nigeria is one.
Nigeria should go back to 1963 constitution. They should be sending money to the center. They were not coming to Lagos to collect money in the 60s.
Are there consequences when one makes comments to heat up the polity?
If it's investigated and the person is being arraigned for it, on conviction, the person will be, there's a fine for it, or the person will serve a prison term.
In this political season, when, how, and where can a citizen conduct himself or herself to speak, especially when the expectations are not met?
Freedom of speech is guaranteed in our constitution and in the United Nations Charter. So don't let us look like we want to gag the people from that. But when you are in the community, you are not alone. It's not about you. It can also be about us. So you can speak as much as you want. Maybe your speaking is campaigning. Maybe when you speak, you are criticizing. But you can do all that prior to the election. Maybe as you are stepping in from your house on election day, you can still do your talking. But where you cannot just go to the polling unit and start talking anyhow. There are also things about what you shouldn't say. Why would you be promoting fake news? So we have to be careful what we also say. Peradventure, I don't win. And I feel there were discrepancies that caused me to lose. I will humbly, like a patriotic citizen who loves Nigeria, go to the courts to seek redress. Or, oh, it's over, I go and embrace the winner. If indeed your motive is the progress and development of Nigeria, and you lose an election, congratulate the person and join up with him. Those your manifesto, give it to him, because it's all about Nigeria.
Remember, misinformation, propaganda, and unconfirmed comments can cause crisis, which hinders the growth and development of the society.
Do not appropriate yourself well. You can be a danger. You can be a minus or a plus to society. So don't underestimate how what you say and what you do, how it can impact for good or not on those around you. Mazi Afamosigo is still here. We're talking about the role of the electorate. Beyond voting, let's talk about before, during, and after. Disinformation, misinformation, comportment, speech, and all of that.
Now, election times are times of great passions, inflamed passions, as it were, emotions. And people bring in so many things into the mix. And it's also a time that the populists seem to have a view on just about everything and about every person. And it's always important to point out the right to freedom of expression, to hold an opinion, to association contained in the Constitution are not limitless. They are not a license to say anything and do anything, everything. Because what we say may make the difference between breakdown of law and order and a peaceful society, could incite people to commit murder or arson. People should be circumspect about what they say, about what kind of information they peddle. And because the social media space makes it possible to some of these things to reach far distances, and even unverified videos, even videos from strange lands, taken and given a spin. So people should be careful what they say. We can propagate our views, promote our candidates, our friends, whatever viewpoints we want to. But we should always remember that there's inherent danger in peddling falsehood, which can lead to breakdown of law and order.
Indeed, indeed. Mazi, we had said that we'll make a few comments about the recall process.
Yes, it is.
Sometimes there's something called the effects of non-performance when you are elected, and people need to know that perchance they don't, promises are not kept, there's something they can do. Tell us briefly about the recall process.
So the recall process is a provision in the Constitution that allows the people to recall their elected representatives in the legislature. So they gather a certain number of signatures for House of Assembly, House of Reps, Senate, and INEC verifies them. And because of the highly technical nature and the large number of signatories required to carry this out, none has been successfully carried out in Nigeria. And usually, those sought to be recalled use the court process to also challenge them. And sometimes, too, some governors have tried to abuse that by trying to use it to recall a legislator from their state with whom they have political differences. But when it is put to its right use, it is a provision that lets the people not wait till the end of 4 years to vote out their representative whom they feel no longer represents their interests, who is not performing as much as they want him or her to perform. And so that provision is there in the Constitution. So it allows them to do that. But like I said, because of its technical nature, it has never been positively successfully activated against any person. But it is there as a constant reminder to every legislator that if he or she doesn't perform well, the people have a right to say, you come back home, so that we'll have the opportunity of having another election to replace you.
Let me quickly ask you this. Some say it is likely unrealistic. That is what is needed to ensure a successful recall process. Should it be tweaked? Because so far, we know that people have been dissatisfied with some of the elects, but could do little or nothing or they began the process, but did not succeed.
I agree with those who
say... So should it stay as it is?
I agree with those who say it's largely unrealistic because it will also require a lot of money to fund. So that may also mean that some political interests may hijack it for the purpose other than that for which it is put there in the Constitution. And like I said, the thresholds, the number of votes, signatories required to achieve it is a bit on the high side. But there should be, the manner it is put, maybe we should look down at the figures and how it can be activated and who can. Because they also have to verify the signatures, the voters register for the, it's a bit complex.
Okay. Your final thoughts, Mazi?
My final thought is that this is an opportunity for the people to use their votes to determine who they want to lead them. The elected representatives are there to serve the people, and if the people are not impressed with their services so far, they should indicate that by voting for other candidates of their choice. And if they feel that their representatives have done well, this is an opportunity to say, you've done a great job, go back and continue to represent us where the opportunity to continue to do so is provided for in our laws. So bottom line is that we should all come out on Saturday to vote and vote candidates of our choice. And the law enforcement agencies, like I keep saying, must be there to ensure their safety and ability to vote. And INEC, as an independent umpire, must be neutral and must give confidence in the process so that people will have confidence in his ability to carry out a free and fair and credible election that will produce the will of the people.
Indeed. I had been asking Mazi Afam Osigwe here. I said, some may say they need you in one level of elected capacity or the other, but he said no. But Jumare Obajana must have been reading the minds of many Nigerians. She said, our firebrand son needs to be a part of the House of Representatives or the Senate. We believe he will make sure that it's not business as usual. Relevant bills can come from professionals like him that will impact the people positively. He speaks like he understands the people, and he can speak in our best interest. Jumare Obajana, we will leave it there.
Thank you so very much, Thelma.
Mazi Afam Osigwe, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, it's been a pleasure chatting with you and learning from you to your vast knowledge of Nigeria, its people, our constituencies, the bills and the laws. Thank you for coming on Weekend Deal.
Thank you so very much for inviting me.
We thank you for being a part of Weekend Deal. It's all ours to build, just like Nigeria. We must work together, bringing the very good aspects of our lives to the fore so that we all can benefit and it can impact the country positively. We often say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with people. We go further together and we last longer when we go as a group. People remember how you made them feel, not exactly what you did. Let's continue to build together. Let's think positively. Let's do what is kind, what is right, what is positively impactful. Let us celebrate what is good and discourage what has negative impact. It's always great to have your company on Weekend Deal. Make sure you go out and vote next week for the candidate of your choice. Like they say, vote your conscience, don't fight. God bless Nigeria. From all of us here, it's bye-bye.